the way it's all gone down here, I mean, you've got to be paying attention to it. And certainly that was a big win for him Saturday night. And it's been, but I mean, you've been around this place when it gets noisy, with the fans and everything. And I'm sure it's kind of good to be away from that too, not having to listen to that. Everybody coming up to you going, what's wrong? What's wrong with this? What's wrong with that? Are we going to fire the coach?
Yeah. Yeah, especially out on the golf course, you hear a lot of that, and guys want to talk about college sports and all that. And some of the guys, it's beautiful because some of the guys I play with, they're just sports fans. They have no idea what I did, so I just kind of chime in like the rest of them. And then maybe a month or 2 months later, they find out they've been talking to the voice of the Gators, and they go, "Oh!" And then it's amazing how their attitudes and opinions change a little bit. I'm saying, hey, well, I'm the same guy as you talked to 2 months ago,
Another Dooley Noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Okay, and welcome in to another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Dooley Dome Gator Studios. Our 400th show. We should have some kind of a trumpet playing or something. And for our 400th show, Mick Hubert's going to join us. He was the guy I wanted to get on. And that's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait for that interview. Also, next week, Coach Spurrier will be on Monday, I think, as far as I know. And I know it's Thanksgiving weekend. I know that now. I didn't know it when I was trying to get my Thursday guest. And I went, uh-oh. Because he's the one who reminded me. He said, yeah, I'm good to go. He goes, oh, wait, that's Thanksgiving. So, yeah. That's how crazy it's been around here. We've had a lot of stuff going on. I forgot Thanksgiving's coming up. And the other thing is, Karen actually made us Thanksgiving dinner Sunday because the family was all here. So we went and had Thanksgiving dinner then. So we were probably not going to really do much on Thanksgiving. We'll give thanks for things. But anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to do a special early show Wednesday. Zach and I are going to do this, and we're going to keep it with no guests. I don't want to bug people on Thanksgiving week, to be honest with you. And we've had some unbelievable guests lately. I mean, when you think about the last month, we've had Danny Werfel, Paul Feinbaum, Todd Golden, Chris Doring, of course, Coach Spurrier every Monday, Mick Hubert today. We've had some unbelievable great guests. So we're just going to go guestless on Wednesday for a special edition, and that way we'll be able to make sure we take care of our sponsors, but also give you all the games that are coming up and give you a perfect schedule like we like to do with our Swamp Games of the Week. Boy, there's a lot today to go over, but we have even more next Thursday, it'll be Wednesday, next Wednesday, yeah. And that way you can enjoy it on Thanksgiving. And then as you're walking, as you're trying to walk off your third helping of stuffing. I love stuffing, man. If you get a little spice in that dressing, I am all over it. Is stuffing and dressing, are they not the same thing, or is one different than the other? I don't know if anybody knows the answer to that. Sorry, I got a little bit of congestion, and the reason is because it got cold today, as we know. If you live in Gainesville, colder, and it's going to get colder tonight, so the heat's on, and when the heat comes on is when I tend to get issues. But hopefully not too bad. All right, and then Barrett Salee, who you guys, I've had him on before. He does the Smothered and Covered podcast, and he also works on Sirius on the Sunday show. I love listening to that show with him and Tom Luganville. Going to the gym every Sunday, especially after the Gators win, is a lot more fun. But anyway, he's going to join us the following Thursday. So we're trying to get things set up for the future. All right. Again, today, Mick Hubert. That's going to be great. Let's get to our Gainesville Quarterback Club starting five, brought to you by the Gainesville Quarterback Club. And I want to say that Graham Mertz lived up to what I hoped he would be Tuesday night when he was there. He was amazing. He gave us some insight that I can't share with you until I'll share it with you next week into what Florida's game plan will be in this game and what kind of defenses Ole Miss runs. So he was unbelievable. Really interesting. And, man, that guy loves the University of Florida. And you could see it. I mean, this was sincere, you know. And then, of course, this Tuesday, excuse me, I'm sorry. This Tuesday, it'll be Carlos Alvarez. I cannot wait to introduce him. And I really was. It was exciting to introduce Graham Mertz because like I said in the introduction, I said this guy's not going to get a statue out there in front. He's not going to get his name up on the wall, but he is one of my favorite quarterbacks here, and he's done a heck of a lot to get Florida to try to get Florida back. Florida is not quite back yet. We know that. Not when your coach is under 500, you're not back. But he's tried to get Florida back. He's done his best, and he's been great in the community. And I think that's the kind of guy we should support and embrace. All right, let's get to our Gainesville Quarterback Club starting five. We start off with number one, which is Ole Miss coming to town. It's going to be interesting. Let me tell you what, this is a very good football team. It has its flaws, and it has had its missteps, Kentucky being one of them, of course. But they're really good. And they're number one in the SEC in passing. They do commit a lot of penalties, but Jackson Dart is way better than, I hate to say this, but Jackson Dart's way better than Garrett Nussmeier. He's got a lot of weapons around him. He gets Trey Harris back. Florida's a 10-point underdog for a reason at home, It's not that I don't think Florida can win. I would be surprised if they do win, only because Ole Miss is pretty good. And, Lane Kiffin's, I still think, is the best play caller in college football. So I used to give it to him and Jimbo tied. I thought they were the best, but Jimbo lost it when he went to A&M. I don't know what happened to him there, man. It's like all the good plays he used to have went away. I don't know what happened there. But they're really good, and there's a reason why they are going to make the playoffs. We'll see what happens here, and we'll see whether they're able to come in here. Now, I talked about this last week with LSU, that I didn't know what was going to come in here, whether it was going to be a team that came in here desperate, hungry, we need to get this win to keep our playoff hopes and SEC championship hopes alive, or is it going to be a team that's dysfunctional like we've seen in the past, and we got the dysfunctional team to a point. It's not like they were a terrible team coming in here. I think talent-wise, they're as talented as Ole Miss. The difference is Ole Miss is better coached and better offensively coordinated. Charlie Weiss Jr. also coming home along with Princely, and again, Charlie Weiss Jr. was worked here with his dad. He wasn't on staff, but he worked here with him, and that's where he kind of got his start. And that was the whole plan when Will Muschamp came here, was to bring Charlie Weiss here and also bring his son here and allow him to kind of learn the ropes and everything. And that's how he got Charlie Weiss here. It seemed like a good idea at the time. It did not work out well, and it hasn't worked out well for Charlie Weiss Sr. since then. But for Charlie Weiss Jr., he's on the right track. He's certainly with the right kind of coaches, and I'd love if he was offensive coordinator here, but I don't know if Billy Napier's ready to give that up yet. I go back to this. The offense isn't really the problem. He calls good plays. I just think it's too much for a head coach in this day and age. Now, after this game, nobody's saying that, but I still think it is, and I still think it's something. I think it's something that Billy needs to re-examine during the offseason. Now, is there an off season? I don't think there is anymore. You're recruiting 24/7. So, but anyway, it's something he needs to look at. And hey, if he decides I'm going to stay coordinator, then it's on you. Whatever you can do. So if you do well, that was a good decision. If you do poorly, you should have let it go. But anyway, that's not neither here nor there. We know he's coordinator for this game. We know the offensive staff gets all together. They put up the game plan together. They talk. It's not like nobody else is having any input into it. I think people think that this is a stubborn guy walking around going, I'm going to call everything I want. He's still the head coach, and he's still talking to all his coaches. I think people kind of lose sight of what it is. Now, when you're losing and you're looking bad and you're having trouble with details and special teams, getting the right guys on the field, that's when people are going to say that. But hopefully they can maybe they're over that. Maybe we're at the point now where Florida is look, the fact that Florida had a lot of penalties in that game, we all got upset, especially early. 3 penalties in the first 4 plays, I think it was, or something like that. And but those penalties, team's got a lot of penalties. This Lane Kiffin team, I think, leads the SEC in penalties. I mean, getting the penalties is not the problem. Those things do happen. It's the ones you get that are dumb, like too many men on the field, and that's a coaching problem. You got to solve that. All right, let's get to number 2, and that is on the Gainesville Quarterback Club starting 5, and that is the importance of this game for Florida. Now, we know how important it is for Ole Miss, and that's what I was talking about earlier. Ole Miss comes in here, and you would like to think, well, Lane doesn't want to play in the championship game. He's already said that, so maybe they won't show up here and play that well. They've got Mississippi State next week. They know they'll win that game. But I think a 3-loss Ole Miss doesn't get in. So they're probably going, now we need to win this game. So I think I don't think they come in here desperate, but I think they come in here with certainly a lot of fire and energy. And although it's a noon game, 11 o'clock for them, hopefully maybe that'll help. And I know it did in one of the other games they lost. So we'll see how that all works out. But the importance of this game for Florida. Now, we all know that Florida can get bowl eligible with a win here. And that would be important, very important for Billy Napier. It would be a signature win because it'd be a top 10 team that he beat. It would be huge. But, it's going to be very difficult, like I said. And you need to win this. Like, you don't have to win this game, but you can't look bad losing it. Now, I would love for them to win this game. Winning this game would change all the narrative on Billy Napier. And I think LSU changed it some, but this would change it drastically. Now, if you lose this game, and for somehow you go to Tallahassee, and maybe DJ gets hurt in this game. You never know what's going to happen. And now you go to Tallahassee with Aiden Warner as your starting quarterback, you could very easily, as bad as they are, lose that game into a rival on their field. And now all the momentum has been sapped away from Florida. All the momentum of the LSU win, of the team clearly getting better. We all have seen this. They're clearly getting better this year. Is gone. It's done. And now the recruiting momentum goes away. Look, we've seen what the recruiting momentum did after the LSU win. And especially, don't forget, Florida hadn't played a home game for a while. And I think that enthused that. I think that's one reason that team played so fired up, was because don't forget, they had been on the road or playing Georgia and for I think it was like 3 weeks. I mean, that's just a quirk of the schedule, that it ends up like that. But anyway, they come home and hopefully they're fired up. The fans will be fired up. They won't be as fired up as they were last week. I think most of them came in there with a little looped, which is the way you want them in there. And but I don't know that they're going to be able to sustain it with a game like this at noon. But we'll see what happens. But it is very important for Billy Napier. It's very important for this football program that they go out and play well, and that And look, if they get the win, that is going to be great. That is going to be a huge momentum builder. And I don't think a loss is a momentum sapper. 41-10 loss would be a momentum sapper. The bottom line is go play hard, show what you got, show that you belong, show that you are one of the better teams in the league, not one of the worst teams in the league, and get it, just put up a good performance. And I'm not saying there's a moral victory here, but you just can't let the momentum sap away. That's all I'm trying to say. Is that any of that making sense? It'll be a first if it is. All right, let's get to number 3 on our Gainesville Quarterback Club starting 5. And, of course, the reveal came out Tuesday. And, look, I've said this to a lot of people. It is, I love watching it. I love paying attention to it. I love talking about it. It doesn't mean a whole lot. Everybody wants to get their panties all in a wad because, the Tennessee fans are mad because they're out now. Well, they may not be out next week. I mean, who knows what's going to happen? You look at some of these matchups. Oh, man, that would be something. Alabama at Notre Dame. That would be great. Penn State hosting Georgia, and maybe it'd be snowing in Happy Valley, and you get fired up thinking about it. But we have no idea if those things are going to take place. We're as far away from knowing what the final 12 are as we were 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago. We don't know what the final 12 is going to look like or who's going to play who. There's a long way to go. You got this weekend's games, you got next weekend's games, then you got the championship games before we get to it. So it's a long way to go, but it's still fun to talk about, and it's still fun to question the committee and what they're looking at. Look, I don't know I think the committee kind of goes with different feelings every week. I think they go, I'm going to really look at strength of schedule this week. I'm going to look at who they beat. I'm going to look at who they lost to. I'm going to look at now, like I think you're supposed to look at all that. I'm going to look at computers. I'm going to look at metrics. I'm going to look at control. How much time you had leading in a game. But one thing may be important to one guy. One thing may be important to another guy. You got a lot of ADs, a lot of coaches. Kelly Whiteside, who's I've known for years, is on the committee again this year, who was at USA Today, and now she teaches. But she knows college football, wrote a bunch of books about college football. I love having her on there. I think that they've got a good panel put together. But look, whatever they do, no people are going to bitch about it. 13, 14, 15 are going to be mad. It's just the way it is. But I love the way this thing is set up. We have our preseason poll that everybody gets mad about and says it's a waste of time. I don't know why we're doing it. And we talk about it. And we talk about it, we talk about it, we talk about it. And then we get to the reveals. We talk about those, we talk about those. But in the end, the only reveal that matters is on the final day. Just remember that. But it's going to be fun as we go down the stretch and watch all these games. I think this is set to be the greatest finish ever for college football, because we've never had this before, this 12-team playoff. And we've never had 18 teams with a chance to get in the playoff with 3 weeks to go. So maybe more than that. All right, but it's going to be fun, and I look forward to it. Let's move along to our, no matter how bad you want to be at Boise State for being in there. Look, I get where people get upset that they got a bye. Well, that's today. They don't have games coming up that are going to put them over the top. Whereas, like, if BYU wins out and beats Colorado in the championship game, they'll be the team that goes in there as a Big 12 champ. So, I mean, everybody just calm down. It's fun to talk about, but don't get too stressed out about it. Let's move along to number 4 on our Gainesville Quarterback Club starting 5, and that is Florida basketball. And Tuesday night, they had a win over Florida A&M. They really ran into it. They took the foot off the gas, which has been a problem, I think, since the Billy Donovan days here, where they get a big lead and the foot comes off the gas. But I think it's more that college basketball is a game of runs. And when you're on a good run, it just feels like it will never stop. And then it stops, and sometimes the other team starts a little run, and you get discouraged. Basketball, that's just the way it works. They ended up winning by a lot. You know, Walter Clayton looks like he's poised to have a huge year. And certainly their schedule is going to get really interesting. They got one more game Friday night, and then it gets really interesting. They got Virginia, North Carolina, maybe Wichita State, and that Orlando thing, Minnesota. I mean, there's a lot of good games coming up here on the schedule. But team looks really good, and enjoy watching them so far. So we'll see how it goes. You know, that when that schedule gets really interesting a little bit later, but they're doing well. They're doing well. You know, they got up to a 30-point lead. It is hard to kind of stay with that same focus, and that's hard for anybody. It's hard, especially for 20-year-old kids who are maybe just transferred in, you know, stuff like that. Anyway, but it's fine. They're fine. They won the game easily, and it wasn't like it ever got competitive, but they're going to play better than that. We'll see how they do. Let's get to the final item, number 5 on our Gainesville Quarterback Club starting 5. The news that came out yesterday that Jim McElwain is retiring at the end of the season. And it's funny because, and I'll tell you ahead of time, we taped the interview with Mick Hubert yesterday. I'll just be honest with you. And we had to do that for multiple reasons. That's fine. You'll enjoy the interview, believe me. But we did talk about Jim McElwain. Jim McElwain and Mick did not get along. for some reason, Jim didn't like Mick. And I know that's why Jeff Cardozo started hosting the coaches shows there for a while, because he just didn't like Mick. And then maybe he thought Mick was part of the previous regime. I never really got an explanation why they didn't get along, but they didn't get along. And you'll hear that from Mick. But that said, when you think about McElwain's time here, it could have been great if he just could have understood UF, and he didn't. We all know that, and we don't need to go over that again. He didn't appreciate other coaches. He didn't want anybody involved. He didn't want anybody around. It was bunker mentality, and that's not the way Florida operates. We know that. Maybe they should have, because he was having success, 2 straight SEC championship games, but then it started going south, and it got ugly, and obviously the death threats thing, and which there were death threats. I know people want to say there weren't. There was a death threat called in. Okay. The story I've gotten from reliable sources, there was a death threat called in. His mistake was not to report it. And then they gave him an excuse to get rid of him. They were fed up with him. Now, I will say this. I like the guy a lot. I got along with him. I remember after his last recruiting class came in, and it was a great recruiting class. It wasn't like a top 5, but it was a really good class. He got some late flips, and of course, a couple of those guys never played here. But he allowed me to go walk with him and interview him, and I'll never forget this. He's saying, this is on the record. He was like, these fans, I've talked to other coaches, Coach Spurrier, Coach Meyer, about how they'll try to drive you out of here, and he was just not knocking the fans, and I'm like, what? Wait, you've already knocked your athletic director, you've already knocked the fans, and remember after they beat LSU, which was unbelievable, out in Baton Rouge, the Hurricane Matthew game, and they interview him on the sideline, and he says, well, hopefully the Gator fans won't be too mad that we're going to Atlanta again. No, that's not what you say. He just never got that part of it, okay? But I got along with him great. There were times when I got mad at him too, because you would say something to him and he would look at you like you were sideways, or just not answer the question, And he wasn't the best interview, but I got along with him okay. I loved his wife, Karen, still do. She's great. In fact, I was going to text him, probably I will after the show today, and say, hey, hope you enjoy your retirement better than I'm enjoying mine. Now, not that I'm not enjoying mine, but I'm working a lot during my retirement, and I don't think he's going to. But they're having a struggling season. But don't forget, this guy was Coach of the Year in 3 different conferences, including the SEC in 2015. What he had going there with Will Greer was pretty awesome. Now, he didn't recruit Will Greer. That was a Muschamp recruit. But they had patched together an offensive line, and I don't know how they were 6-0 when Will Greer got popped for the PEDs. So anyway, the Jim McElwain, we aren't going to see him on the sidelines anymore after the season. He's still got a game to play. I think they're 4-7. So yeah, he's got a game to play. But hey, good luck. Congratulations on your retirement, Jim. Like I said, I get along with him great. I do understand why he got fired. I get it 100%. I think he should have at that point. And that's the thing. We've talked about this before. Florida keeps going through these coaches. In every case, the firing was justified. But at some point, you got to stop justifying them, because you've got to build something. And again, I will say this. Billy Napier doesn't get it done next year. Again, very difficult schedule. You got to go to Miami, go to LSU, go to Texas is here. You got more road games than you had this year. You have only 6 home games. That's going to be a tougher schedule. If he doesn't get it done, after 4 years, it's time to move along. But let's see what he does. You got him. He's your guy. Okay. All right. I don't know if I made any sense on that last thing. All right. Let's go ahead and take a break. We'll come back and we'll play the interview we did yesterday with Mick Hubert, and I hope you enjoy it. As you'll notice, mixed lighting is better than mine, and I think I learned a lesson that natural lighting would really help me here. So I'm working on that. My wife and I are going to figure out our office this weekend so I can get better lighting. But mix is great, I can tell you that. We'll be back, and we'll play Yes, No, Where maybe with them as well. So we'll be back to do that after we take this break on another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Gator fans, football season is here. What's better than seeing the Gators back on the field? Easy. Seeing amazing speakers and fellow Gator fans weekly at the Gainesville Quarterback Club. Held every Tuesday night of a home game at the Best Western Gateway Grand. Enjoy happy hour, great food, valuable insights from yours truly and Andy Staples, plus notable speakers throughout the season. As the oldest Gator booster club in the world, Gainesville Quarterback Club gives you access to elite speakers like coaches, NCAA football insiders, Gator greats, and more. Share your passion for Gator football with hundreds of other members at weekly in-season meetings, home tailgates, and special events throughout the year. Join the Gainesville Quarterback Club today. Email the club at membership@quarterbackclub.org or visit thequarterbackclub.org. Or better yet, just give me a call and I'll get you to the right people.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant. And you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Okay, welcome back to another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Dooley Dome Gator Studios. And as we told you, because we were having our 400th episode, we wanted to get a special guest on, and we went and got the man down there on the left coast of Florida, Mick Hubert. How are you, Mick?
Hey, Pat, brother, I'm good and great seeing you. Yeah, I'm doing great down here.
Yeah, I would imagine you probably lowered your handicap a little bit, right?
You know, Pat, I 2 years ago, we've been here 2.5 years, and 2 years ago during the fall, I had back issues, and I was seeing a chiropractor once a week for like 10 weeks. Two years ago in November, I wasn't even playing golf, and I hadn't played in Gainesville in years. Mm-hmm. And so I'm playing about 2 to 3 times a week. And yeah, I got my handicap down. I played the Bobby Jones golf course the other day. It's been here forever in Sarasota. They've renovated it. I shot an 83, so I was very, very happy with that. Yeah, and I double bogeyed the first hole and the second hole. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I'm playing more golf than I ever dreamed I would play.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the way to do it, man. It's a great sport, as you know, and it's a very frustrating sport, as you know, too.
Yeah,
but
oh, yeah.
I imagine you're still pretty chill right now, being able to go down there and retire and move into that house. And I'm sure you're enjoying your retirement, probably better than I am.
Well, I don't know, Pat. I see you everywhere, so I think you're doing. I don't know if you're really retired, but you're doing great, and I love checking in with you and everything like that. But no, it's I just knew in my spirit this was where we needed to be, and this is why we're here. And so I would say I'm surprised, but I'm not surprised because this is why I'm here. I knew it was going to go well. Right. And it's been a great place. Like I said, we bought the house down here in 2019, long before COVID ever came about. So it's been great. And plus, I've become affiliated with our church down here, Faith Life Church. In fact, on Wednesday morning, I work at the church on Wednesday morning. So I don't play golf on Wednesdays, but any other day, Wednesday and Sunday, I don't play golf, but any other day is fair game. But it's been great. And as I told my wife, I said, when we go down there, we'll have new friends in our community. There's a bunch of retired golfers down here, so we've got friends here. And I said we'll have all kinds of friends at our new church there, and that's come about too. So we have 2 sets of friends, and it's really been a bunch of people, and it's been a lot of fun. It really has. And I do catch up with the Gators now and again too.
Now, are you a celebrity down there? I mean, do people know that you're a big deal, or did they
Well,
get Mick? You should try radio sometime.
yeah, it's kind of funny because when we first came into the church down here, it was June of 2020. We were still living in Gainesville, but it was during COVID, and they were sitting every other row. There were like 3 seats between people, and we would come in because we were here in the summer a lot. And I told my wife, I said, if I didn't know better, this is the most unfriendly church I've ever seen because nobody was speaking to anybody, but I knew it was because of COVID. Nobody was shaking hands, hugging,
Right,
and
right.
none of that was going on. So then as that lifted and we got down here, every once in a while someone would say, oh, you're Mick Hubert, or somebody would tell that. And then after about a year, I had people come up to me and say, hey, you were holding out on me. I said, what are you talking about? I said, you didn't tell me who you were or what you were doing. I said, well, I'm not going to go around announcing those things. So it's been a gradual unfolding. And yet I've had some people say, I do commercials for the Gettle Automotive Company.
Right,
And
yeah,
they have Gatorland Toyota in Gainesville, and they have a whole
right.
bunch of them down
They're
here.
on our
So
station, yeah.
yeah, so one guy said to me, he says, I know you, I know you. I thought maybe he was a Gator fan. He goes, you're the Gettle guy, aren't you? I go, yep, that's me. I'm the Gettle guy.
Yeah, that's great stuff. I mean, it's interesting because you got out of here, and I know you came back for the to meet Mr. Two Bits in 22.
Right.
Have you been back for any other Gator athletic events other than that?
No, I haven't. And a guy I play golf with is a huge Gator fan, season tickets forever. And he asked me a couple weeks ago, he says, Mick, if that LSU game goes to 3:30, come with me. Come on up there. Well, you won't have to drive. We'll do it all. We'll leave at 10. We'll get home about 10 or 11. I said, Robert, I'm not doing that. I said, I've seen a lot of games, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to sit in the stands and do that and do all that thing. And so I enjoy it. We watch it when we're home, but we don't make a special plan to be home. If we're home, we watch. If not, we go to dinner, we go this, we go that, and everything. And yet sometimes I've gone out and been fortunate enough to come home and not know anything about the game, so then I can watch the game on replay. And it's
Wow.
like it's new to me, so it's worked out that way. But Pat, I can turn off some games now because I couldn't do that
Sure.
before. And I think, oh, I'm not watching the rest of that, and I just move on to something else.
It sounds a lot like me. I don't want to go sit in the stands anymore. I mean,
No.
you know,
I'm spoiled. I know it. I admit it.
Yeah,
I'm
we
spoiled.
are all spoiled. And that's the thing. People don't understand how much better it is to be in a press box where you have access to a bathroom right there, and you have access to all the Diet Cokes or whatever you want to drink right there. And if you're cold, you go inside. If you're warm, I mean, you got plenty of room. And then you have to go sit. I went to a basketball game, and I'm like, how do people sit like this? I don't know. We were down low, and I was like, this is way too tight.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, we were watching a game on Tuesday night, and my wife said, "Looks like our seats that we sat, no one's sitting there anymore." I said, "Well, maybe they didn't come, or maybe they didn't give them out." I said, "But I guess we could probably ask for those seats again if we ever wanted to come back up."
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you miss something like do you miss the prep work or any of that stuff? Or are you kind of glad that you don't have to deal with that anymore?
Yes and no. I do miss it because I loved it. I really was a kind of a guy that got in and created my own charts and did all my own research and my stats, and I put it all together and I got it together. And so when I got there on Saturday, I was nothing more than a fan because all my prep work was done. Now I can just enjoy the game.
Yeah.
And so I kind of miss that. In fact, I just got a new computer last week, and I had to pay for Acrobat InDesign. That was the program that I used to make my charts. Well, I'm still paying a monthly fee for that, and I haven't opened those charts in like 2 years. And I said, you should come to a reckoning that you're wasting money because without that program, I can't open the charts. But I said, why do I need to open the charts? I'm not creating any new charts, so I'm not going to broadcast again. So I'll probably stop doing that. But so yet people ask me, do you miss it? I said, no, I really don't. I really don't, because I knew in my heart that we were supposed to be here. We were supposed to go to this church here. That's why one of the big reasons why we came here. And so that's been just great. I knew it would work out. So I looked at it, Pat, as I had 33 years as the voice of the Gators, loved every moment of it. I was treated so well by everybody. And then before that, 13 years in Peoria and Dayton. So I had 46 years of play-by-play, and I loved it. I wanted to do play-by-play from the time I was 7 or 8 years old. So I got to do what I've always wanted to do. It's one thing I really knew to do. And now that it's over, people say it must be a tremendous void. I said, no, not at all, because I knew that I knew that I knew that I would move on to the next portion of my life. And yet people said, what's it going to be? I said, I don't know. I don't know. But I said, I know who knows. And he's never been wrong yet. So I'll trust him.
Undefeated, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Well, I certainly, the way it's all gone down here, I mean, you've got to be paying attention to it. And certainly that was a big win for him Saturday night. And it's been, but I mean, you've been around this place when it gets noisy, with the fans and everything. And I'm sure it's kind of good to be away from that too, not having to listen to that. Everybody coming up to you going, what's wrong? What's wrong with this? What's wrong with that? Are we going to fire the coach?
Yeah. Yeah, especially out on the golf course, you hear a lot of that, and guys want to talk about college sports and all that. And some of the guys, it's beautiful because some of the guys I play with, they're just sports fans. They have no idea what I did. So I just kind of chime in like the rest of them. And then maybe a month or 2 months later, they find out they've been talking to the voice of the Gators, and they go, oh. And then it's amazing how their attitudes and opinions change a little bit. I'm saying, hey, well, I'm the same guy as you talked to 2 months ago, So yeah, there's a lot of Gators down here. Sarasota County has a lot of Gators, so I can get just as involved as I want, or pull back if I want. And I was blessed to go they had the Sarasota County Gator Club meeting in August, and I was one of the guys that spoke a little bit, and so. And then one guy heard me speak and invited me to come speak to his church, because I gave a little bit of my testimony in that regard. So it's been really good. And I can say that I know a little bit about the Gators, but not a whole lot. And I told my wife, I said, in some ways, it's no different than when I was the voice of the Gators, because a lot of people thought that I knew everything always on the inside. And right. I did know a lot, but there's so much that I didn't know. And they go, you didn't know that? I'm going, no. The inner circle is very, very small, and it was much different when Coach Spurrier was there. It was, as I've described, it was a mom and pop type operation. Now, we won national championship, but it changed. And then when Ron Zook came in, it was still the same. Urban Meyer comes in 2005. We put keypads on the doors. If you don't have the combination, you can't get in. I'm going, well, I've been here 16 years, and now I get the keypad from Nancy Scarborough, and I go in, and I walk down the hallway, and I could just feel like they were looking like, what's he doing here? Right. And I wanted to say, hey, I've been here 16 years. I think I'm probably a little bit more loyal to the Gators than you are right now. So that's when we went from mom and pop to IBM, in 2005, big corporation. So, it's funny, but like I said, I know a little bit, but a lot of stuff I don't know and don't care to know and don't need to know.
I will tell you a good story about that involving Urban. In 2006, Florida's playing Tennessee. So I go for a walk on Saturday morning. As I'm walking back in through the lobby, the main lobby, where the team was having breakfast, and Mullen and Meyer are sitting there, and they're both in the jar. You can just see they're just grinding. And I walk by, I go, hey guys, walk by, and Mullen looked at me like, how the heck did he get in here? And so the next year, guess what? Media no longer in the hotel. So
man,
that was the end of that. You had a lot of fun with Jim McElwain too. That was your other favorite coach, I think.
God bless him. I was the same guy always, and I got along with all the coaches. And unfortunately, he just brought an attitude to Gainesville right out of the gate that, it permeated throughout. And I for a while, I thought I was the only guy he didn't like. And then I found out, well, he didn't like you. You feel that way? You feel that way? And then I found out it was everywhere. It was everywhere. It wasn't just me. And, we had a little tiff there for a while. And, I wish him the best at Central Michigan, and probably going to be a good coach there. And in fact, I know a lady down here whose son plays for him up there, and they think he's great. So,
oh, yeah.
Perfect. It just didn't work for him at Florida. And, there was a time before that when Coach Meyer was there, how he was so intense and so driven. And I remember I went to Mike Hill, who was the associate athletic director, now the AD at Charlotte. And I said, Mike, I don't know what I did to Urban. I said, but he hates me. He goes, Mick, he don't hate you. In fact, I know he likes you. I go, he does? Well, it happened twice. And so, but he lives here in Sarasota now. We get along fine and everything. Yeah. It was just the intense of the moment. And then, when he retired and got on TV, I'm thinking, he's not going to be very good doing that. But I misjudged him because it's like he put everything into that. Because when I needed him to do it, he could care less about doing interviews, even though we were both being paid by Jeremy Foley. Both our checks were signed by Jeremy. He just had no intent. He looked at me like, can you help me win this game Saturday? If you can't, I don't need you.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. But then when he got on TV, he's magnificent. He's great on television. I'm so happy for him. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we had him on the podcast a while back, and he and I had a great relationship, but I mean, for a lot of people, a lot of the media never liked him, but you had to know what buttons to push with him.
Yeah.
He's a different cat. I always say that coaches, if you're a head coach and especially if you're successful, you don't have all the screws tamped in. You know, they're not all tightened up back in there somewhere. And, of course, Urban being the greatest example of that. Hey, by the way, I was going to ask you because, every time a coach leaves here, they have a fire sale for all his shirts. But I see you still got your Gator shirts, huh?
I do, and I wear them around, and especially like this morning or on Wednesday morning when I went up to church to work, I had a Gator shirt on, and they looked at me like, I said, hey, 90% of my wardrobe was given to me for his Gators. So I said, if I start cleaning wardrobe, I don't have any clothes, so I've had to buy clothes over the years, but I still got a lot of them, and we gave a lot of them away too. But I wear them, and it's pretty good to wear a Gator shirt this week after that win over LSU. And, I was so blown away. I had a couple of friends in Gainesville sent me a tweet. I'm not on social media. And they sent me a tweet that one of the websites put out a picture of me calling a game where I had my hands in the air, and it said, this place, once again, is an insane asylum. And I called the Swamp that in 1997 in the FSU win. Then I repeated it, I think, in 2017. It had been 20 years since I'd uttered that phrase, and we beat Tennessee, I think, on one of the long passes. And so he put that out again, and in the bottom it said, "Miss you, Mick." And I'm going, wow, that's pretty special. And this was after the game Saturday. That was after the game Saturday, Pat. The game had only been over a few minutes. And I looked down there, and I don't do too much about it, but I looked down there and it said 13K views. I'm going, 13,000 people have seen this tweet already? The game just ended. So that's the power of, the power of social media, which I'm a relic. I don't know anything about that. But you know what? It kind of saved me because, a lot of people go on social media and they say things they regret and shouldn't say. And I just kind of kept it the play-by-play,
I got in trouble once. By the way, I see this pretty cool that your sports room or your room there where you've got the Oh My's, both the license plate. Now, did you have that license plate on your car?
No, I did not. I spoke in Tallahassee to the Capital Area Gator Club many years ago, and they call it Civilization Among the Savages. And they presented that to me, that license plate like that. It's got 2 H's. But there are people with various versions of Oh My on their license plates driving around. I'm thinking, I don't like that because you do something, you cut somebody off. They go, that's Mick Hubert. He cut me off. I know it was him. How do you know? He's got Oh My on his license plate. Not me.
But it could be all of a sudden road rage. We're going to read that Mick Hubert was entering a car accident after a road rage person ran into him because it wasn't Mick Hubert, it turned out.
No.
What about I wanted to ask you about the hurricanes that came through, obviously, and how you guys did. And you're probably happy. We're almost over hurricane season. It looks like there's not going to be any more. But it had to be rough.
Yeah, it was. And, yesterday on Wednesday, the previous Wednesday, there were 2 hurricane pass, 2 tracks. Both of them were headed right to Sarasota. I'm going, oh, no. Well, it dissipated, and the rain that came on Wednesday were a little bit of the remnants of what was left of that. It totally dissipated.
Yeah, we're getting a little bit of that today,
Yeah, we in September of 22, we'd only been here about 4 months. We had one, and, it came on a Tuesday, and I was sitting in the breakfast on a Monday morning, and I told my wife, I said, I just have it in me. We need to go to Fort Lauderdale. She goes, Fort Lauderdale? We'd never evacuated in Gainesville in 33 years,
Right.
I said, yeah. So we went to Fort Lauderdale, and it hit, and a lot of people, I was like one of the few people here that left. But then when I came back, people said, Well, if we have another one, we're leaving because they had never. A lot of these people from the Northeast or from the North, they'd never experienced it. And it's not that your house is going to blow away. At least we knew that. But do you want to sit there for 8 to 10 to 12 hours listening to that wind howling like that? It's just relentless, nonstop. And so we left. And then we had I don't know about you all, but we had the tropical storm Debbie that came through in August. It was just a tropical storm, and it stayed out there in the Gulf. We had 14 inches of rain. This place flooded like you wouldn't believe. Now we were okay where we lived, but Sarasota was hurting a little bit. And then we had a hurricane, and we stayed for that one. But then the last one, we went back to Fort Lauderdale again, different hotel. We went to it again, and came back, and my screen was all shredded out and back, but the structure was fine. There are some structures that collapsed. But my neighbor stayed, and he went out that morning and took pictures of my screen. I had little bitty pieces of screen everywhere. And the funny story is, when we were in Gainesville, we had a company, I don't mind mentioning it, commercial endorsement, I guess.
Sure,
but
absolutely.
A company called Screen Doctors. And a guy named Kevin Lane ran
I know
it.
Kevin,
He would come out and pressure wash my screen. Did it for like 15 years. So now we've got the screen problem down here. And I'm going through, not the yellow pages, but I'm going through the computer. I'm thinking, I told my wife, I said, hey, there's a Screen Doctors down here. Can you believe that? And the guy's name is Kevin. Well, it's Kevin Lane Jr., his son. So I call him, he goes, Mick, he said, me and my dad been at your house in Gainesville for like 15 years. I said, yep. So he came over and did my whole screen. We had about $3,500 worth of screen damage to replace. But like I said, and we got 600 homes in this development here. And he said he had 300 of them. I said, you got half of them? He goes, I got a half of them. Wow. Rescreening all that stuff. So that was all. We never lost electricity or anything like that.
Oh, good.
But Sarasota generally doesn't have, they're pretty much been spared. But the last couple of years, we've had more of our share, and maybe we won't get another one for about 10 years, hopefully.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah. Again, Mick is coming to you on the Big Mills Cheesesteak Zoom line. It is time for us to play Yes, No Way, or Maybe with Mick Hubert. And of course, it is brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteak, street dining done the right way. If you go into Big Mills and say, hey, I saw Mick Hubert on the Pat Dooley podcast, free fries with your order. All right. And we appreciate Big Mills. All right. Number one, yes, no way, or maybe. Mick, Florida makes a bowl game this year.
Oh, give me a hard one right off the bat.
Right off the bat. Boom.
I would say maybe. And you would think they're going to win one of these two, and maybe the FSU game you might think they would win, but being a rivalry game, you never know what could happen there. I will say this: they wouldn't, in my opinion, they wouldn't have beat LSU without Lagway back. I mean, you could tell when he came in, he made the difference and made them go, and yet the defense has made a great improvement, as you've seen from game one. And so who would have ever thought they could get this much better, this much improvement, but they have. So I'm going to say maybe to that, and got my fingers crossed that they can do it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on that. Number two, the thing you miss the least about retirement is baseball rain delays.
Yes. No, I guess no. I don't miss them at all. The last game I did was a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, last series of the year in 22 against South Carolina. We played Thursday night, Friday night, and we got a Saturday 4:00 game, and sure enough, we get this rain delay for like 2.5 hours, but I had such joy for that. First, probably the only rain delay I ever had. I'm going, you know what? This is the way to go out. The last game in a rain delay, you'll never have to sit in the press box ever again for a 2.5 hour rain delay. And you and I have sat in press boxes before with the sun out and the tarp on the field because we're in a rain delay and the sun is shining. Obviously because there were lightning strikes in the area. So that was always my love-hate relationship. I love baseball, but I love it now in the major leagues where they got the pitch clock and they're getting those games down to 220, 230, 240. Yeah. I always said I love baseball, but I love 2.5 hour baseball a whole lot better than 3.5 hour baseball, and that's even without a rain delay. So I like to keep the game moving. Yeah.
There was the one regional, and I can't remember which one it was, where the rain delay was so long. We got so bored because you couldn't leave. and we were betting on a spider he was going to get to the top or not. And so that's how bad it gets.
Pat, I know because I remember seeing you at a barbecue place in Waco, Texas in 2000.
Yes, sir.
At the regional down there at Baylor, beautiful ballpark. And we had a rain delay, I think, on a Sunday night. And we're talking about rain delay in Waco. It was thundering. Lightning was serious now. Thunder and lightning.
I thought we were going to die. Yeah.
I know. I laid on the floor in the press box. It was carpeted. I just laid on the floor. I think, you know what? We're going to be here a while. And it was a monster rainstorm. They get some serious rainstorms in the heart of Texas.
Yep. That was the Wacko in Waco. And Jeff
That's right.
It's a great game there.
Yeah.
Finally, today on Yes, No, Way, or Maybe, today the Hall of Fame finalists came out. Fred Taylor was one of them. Yes, No, Way, or Maybe, Fred Taylor makes the Hall of Fame this year.
I think yes.
I think he should.
I think yes. I think so. Well, I remember when we recruited him down there in the swamps down there in South Florida, and what a career he had. And you remember, I think it was '97. I think when we weren't passing the ball very well, and Steve just turned to him, and like the last 3 games of the year, I think he got the ball all the time. I think one game he got it like 40 times to run like 200 yards.
43 against Penn State in the bowl
game.
Penn
State, yeah. So it was just Fred Taylor. I think he had like over 600 yards in those last 3 games because
he did, yeah. He was
pounding
it, and I hope he gets in. And you know what that means? Then he's eligible for the Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
Which is silly that it takes you getting into that Hall of Fame, but if you don't get in that Hall of Fame, it doesn't make you eligible, and that's why I want Lomas Brown personally to get in. I think he's the best lineman that ever played here.
I would agree. I would agree. So, yeah, no question. Yeah.
All right, you are off the hot seat, and I appreciate you coming on our 400th episode. It's a big deal for me, and it's just so cool to have you on. And I know a lot of people are going to be downloading this. You're going to get a lot of likes and clicks and stuff like that because they wanted to know what's going on with you.
Well, Pat, thank you for having me on. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And I don't know if I've ever thanked you for this either. We were over in the WRUF studios about 3 years ago, and you said to me, Mick, do you know anything about Cameo? I said, about what? And I said, no. And you explained Cameo. Well, I signed up for Cameo. And I'm still doing cameos 3 years later. And I don't have any social media. Cameo is always sending things. Hey, you can put this on your social media and exposure and promote yourself. I'm going, I don't do that. I get all these requests. I don't promote myself at all. But I wouldn't have done any of that if it wouldn't have been for you telling me about that. It's Cameo about maybe 3 years ago.
I'm actually still doing every once in a while. Somebody a birthday, if someone will come in. Sure. I got no problem doing it.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks again for being on. We appreciate you. We'll be back with more of another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios right after this break.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, 2 things haven't. Our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured.
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
And our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Adams Rib Company has been a staple of Gainesville for more than a decade and a staple of the Dooley house ever since Kelsey's teeth came in. The first time I walked into Adams, I told my daughter that the green beans are always a test of a great barbecue restaurant, and they were perfect. You know about the ribs that melt in your mouth, and my favorite, the turkey plate. But be sure to go in on Fridays for Nana's Fish Nuggets. They will melt in your mouth. Adams Rib Co., a Gainesville great. Another Duly Noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444. Okay, welcome back to another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. we got to get to all of our fun stuff, and appreciate Mick again for doing that interview. Mick's such a good guy, and you heard there, he's a very religious person. He was that way when he was here. I think that was kind of something that a lot of people who didn't know him weren't aware of, how involved he is with the church and everything, and he's very into it, and that's cool. Church and golf, what could be better? Let's get to our Adams Ribco Gator of the Week. We present this twice a week. We have a Gator of the Weekend and a Gator of the Week, and we always have ribs from Adams because we love them, especially at the tailgates. You got to hit them up now. They may be ordered out right now, but go ahead and give Adam a call over there at Adams Ribco and see if you can get your special barbecue order in there. So here's who I'm doing the Adams. I had a lot of choices this week, I'll be honest with you. But Beth Morley, who you probably never heard of, but Beth Morley is a cross-country runner at the University of Florida. She came from England and transferred here, and she, from another school, I can't remember which one. Anyway, she is a cross-country runner, and she is the SEC Newcomer of the Year. So that's quite a nice award for her, and I wanted to make sure that she also is the Adams Ribco Gator of the Week. And but I do want to also mention that Hilda, and I'm going to try this name one more time, Ole Momoy, I think I'm close, Ole Momoy, won the regional, and Florida's in the NCAA championships. That'll be on Saturday. I'll give you the time and the channel to watch it on in a little bit. It's on TV. I don't know that I want to sit through a whole cross-country meet, but I may watch a little bit of it anyway, and just keep it on a second TV and see how the Gators are doing. I never was into cross country until Parker Valby came along, and now I got into cross country. But it's great that Florida's good in that. So Beth Morley, though, is our Adams Ribco Gator of the Week, and the only reason is because the whole thing with Hilda and all them, I didn't even know that was going on, and that was last Saturday. So Beth Morley, SEC Newcomer of the Week, Adams Ribco Gator of the Week. Pretty good double header right there. Let's move along to our Leonardo's at Millhopper quick pick. And I know that a lot of you are waiting for that Georgia Tech game tonight because almost all of you picked Georgia Tech to cover in that game. So we'll see what happens there. But we're giving you the two games. You only got to get one right. And then we're about ready to do another poll. I think maybe Wednesday for Thanksgiving. That'd be perfect. Yeah, we'll do a poll on Wednesday for Thanksgiving. So you got this chance and one more to qualify. We'll give you a game. We'll have to give you a Tuesday game, though. So only the people that listen on Monday will be able to probably get in. But it'll be a Tuesday night game. It may not be a Tuesday night game. We'll find out. We'll get you something. Anyway, let's go to these are the two games. Ole Miss giving 10 to Florida at Florida, as you know. So that's one of your games. The other game is the Ohio State-Indiana game, which is, of course, at Ohio State. Indiana's getting 11.5 points. So you've got two big spreads on the two biggest games, really, of the week, as far as I'm concerned. And we'll see. All you got to do is get one right, and that'll do it. And then that'll qualify you for our poll, which will be on Wednesday. So we look forward to that, and we always look forward to going to Leonardo's at Millhopper. Great pizza, great sandwiches. Sandwich named after me. What more could you want? Go get a Dooley over at Leonardo's at Millhopper. Let's move along to our Hesser and Kipke three things. And, of course, Hesser and Kipke, a Gainesville firm here for your needs in family law or workers' compensation. Call or text Ken and Jennifer 24/7 at 352-339-9920. Hesser and Kipke, nearly 50 years of combined legal experience and about to celebrate their 5th anniversary in January. Appreciate Ken and Jennifer so much. Ken is always sending me texts, and they're always funny. They're either funny or they're interesting because they're like he was just sending me one. I don't want to get into it. So it was about a game that was a 0-0 tie. So it was interesting, though. Funny. All right, so let's get to number one, and that is that the Cy Young was awarded on Wednesday, and not surprising either one, but I was happy because Chris Sale won. Now, Chris Sale from the Atlanta Braves, it would have been nice if he could have pitched in the postseason. He got hurt right away, right before the postseason started. And actually, I think it was the day of the first game. Wasn't that a rainout? My memory's slipping, as you know. But anyway, Chris Sale winning the Cy Young. Look, I'm not a big fan of the awards in the postseason. I don't pay a lot of attention to them, especially when Wyatt Langford's not a finalist for Rookie of the Year, and his stats dwarf the guy who was a finalist. I'm not even going to get into that argument, but that was ridiculous. I don't know why they were so down on him, but they were, and that's their problem. I'm sure he's fine. But anyway, when Chris Sale or a Brave wins an award, like Acuna winning the MVP last year, that means something to me. The American League, the Detroit Tigers pitcher, Tarek Skubal. I don't know if it's Tariq or Tarek. I don't know. I just know it's Skubal because I didn't even know about him until like halfway through the season. I'm like, who is this guy Skubal? Okay. Anyway, he won the Cy Young too, and it was unanimous. That's how good he was. Let's get to number 2 on our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. The semifinalists for the NFL Hall of Fame came out, and Fred Taylor is on the list of 25. Do I think he'll make it? No. Do I think he should? Yes. I think he should make it, but I'm telling you, when you look at some of the people that are on that, and to me, the definition of it in baseball, and maybe in football, but maybe not as much, did you dominate during your time? And that's why I think Dale Murphy still should be in the Hall of Fame, even though his numbers aren't extraordinary. It was back-to-back MVP. That means you dominated, right, during your time when you were playing. Fred Taylor wasn't dominant, but he was really good, and he got them into the playoffs. He was so good. I think it's a tough call for those guys, but when you look at some of the people, like Eli Manning's going in first ballot, I would think, Super Bowl champ. I would think there's a couple of guys on there. Terrell Suggs, maybe. I don't know who's going to get in or not. I don't know that Fred's going to get in. I hope he does. But there's also this that still disturbs me, and that makes him eligible for the Florida Ring of Honor. Now, Fred Taylor, I love him. He lived next door to my brother for the whole time he was with the Jaguars. But now, would I push for him to get in the Ring of Honor? Sure, I would. I would push like I am still pushing for Urban now. I pushed against Urban now, but I'm pushing for him now. I think he needs to go in. It needs to happen next year. That's all there is to it. Fred Taylor's like a borderline guy. He had that one great year, 97. I think it's an argument you can make, but the fact that he gets into the Hall of Fame shouldn't be the reason. And I've said that a million times, and I'm going to say it a million more. Lomas Brown should be in the Ring of Honor. He didn't make the finals, so he's not going to get in the Hall of Fame. He's never going to get in the Hall of Fame, it looks like. He should, but people look at where he played, not how he played. That's what they do. Did you win a Super Bowl? No, you played on bad teams. Then you won a Super Bowl, but you were backup. He should be in anyway. He should be in the Ring of Honor is what I'm saying. Whether they put him in the Hall of Fame should have nothing to do with it. That's why the criteria has to change. I'm going to say it over and over again. You're going to get tired of me saying it, but I'm going to keep saying it. All right, finally, number 3 on the Hesser and Kipke 3 things. I guess we have to applaud Gino Auriemma for setting the NCAA all-time win record last night by beating Farley Dickinson, I think it was. I've never been a big fan of his, but a lot of it's because they've dominated. I was up there once. He was very nice to me. I covered Florida in the NCAA regional. Of course, they got knocked out by Connecticut. They won the first game. Said some disparaging things about the University of Florida when I was there, about their women's basketball history. And Amanda Butler certainly took umbrance with that. But anyway, I never had a problem with him. And then the funny thing is, I was walking through the hallway and he saw me and he knew I was from Florida because I'd asked a question about Florida. And he said, "Hey, man." And I how you doing, Gino? And I said, "Oh, yeah, of course I know who you are. Pat Dooley, Gainesville son." He goes, how's my boy doing? I said, "Who's your boy?" He goes, "Aaron Hernandez. I had him in camp, in basketball camp." I go, "Oh, he's doing really good. He's a really good player." Of course, we we know what happened. But that's something that always stuck with me. But he was very nice to me. So, but I mean, you always root against a team that's dominating. I root against dynasties for the most part, unless it's my dynasty. Like when Florida was winning football and basketball, that was my dynasty. When the Braves were winning the East every year, that's my dynasty. I like those dynasties. I don't like other people's dynasties. And I still don't know how they recruit to Storrs, Connecticut, but they do, and they're really good as always. But congratulations to my old pal Gino, I guess I should say. He's a great coach. There's no doubt he knows what he's doing, and he has been unbelievable for all these years. That is our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. Let's move along to this, that, and the other, brought to you by Ironwood Golf Course, by Ballyhoo Grill, where we had the birthday party Friday night. Was unbelievable the way they treated us. It was really a great setup. And then, of course, it's also brought to you by Dar Shakow Insurance. We appreciate John Dar Jr. and Shakow Insurance. We appreciate all that they do for us. All right, let's get to this. And that was that if you watched the Stanford Louisville game, and if you did, you had to have the ACC network, and there were other better games on, so you probably didn't. I did not, okay? I had 3 TVs, and it wasn't worthy. But I kept looking at the score, and I saw that eventually Stanford won in overtime. But then you get to the deeper issue, and that was that Louisville went for a 4th and 10 on the 40-yard line and didn't get it. 10 seconds left. They figured they're just going to knee, and we go to overtime. But no, they threw it out, got a completion, and on the play there was a personal foul penalty. It was called on Tyon Holloway, who I was unaware was a player for Louisville. Anyway, it was called on him. He pushed a guy. You gotta be smarter. I know he's a sophomore, probably 19 years old. You got to be smarter. And guess what happens? They because they get a 15-yard penalty, they kick like a 52-yard field goal, win the game, and there's no overtime. There was 1 second left on the clock. Okay, so that's just dummy, as Coach Spurrier would say. That's this. That's just the way it starts. That is, they go to the airport, the plane's got mechanical problems. They have to go back to a hotel. They're not going to fly out till the next day. So really, guys are not in a good mood. The other is that when he gets home, Mr. Holloway, he lights up, and I don't know if it was a woman next door or a woman. I think it was a woman next door is what it read, was complaining. You got to stop smoking that marijuana. You got to stop that. You got to stop that. He lost it, choked her, tried to strangle her, put a pillow over her head. Anyway, he's in big trouble now because he's got domestic. They said it was domestic violence, so you would think it was somebody new. Anyway, I don't know. Whatever. Not a good day for him, and that is this, that, and the other. And the other is not good for Tyon Holloway. I think that's the way you say that. Anyway, I'm not trying to make fun of the kid, really, but it's a bad look for anybody to go through something like that. Hopefully, he can get his act together. All right, let's go to our next item, which is our Florida Surf Club upset alert. This is where I have researched this heavily, and we've had a couple go through for us on the Florida Surf Club upset alert. This one is going to be Iowa State. Now, it's got to be at least a 6-point differential on the spread, or I don't count it as an upset. And it's like last week was an upset. No, it really wasn't. It was only 5 and 4.5 if you got that line. So I guess you can't count Florida beating LSU as an upset. But Iowa State is giving 6 points at Utah. Now, Utah, really tough place to play, right? Except this year, because Utah really stinks. They've lost 6 in a row. They're in trouble. But Utah, you got to think that for this, because they don't know if this is going to be Willingham's last game. We don't know what's going on with him. He's getting old. He's tired of this NIL stuff. I got a feeling Utah is going to knock him off. So that becomes our Florida Surf Club upset alert. Watch out, Iowa State. You don't need another loss, man. You lost those 2 in a row, and that puts you in a hole. So we'll see what happens there. That'll be a lot of fun. All right. It is time, and we always love this. This is our Hugh, Cain, Allstate Mayhem moment. The Gator Nation is in good hands with local Allstate agent Hugh Cain. Stop by Alachua Marketplace Plaza in Alachua and get a free quote today. Yeah, I don't know if you know this kid's story, but it's an amazing story. His name is Hansel Emmanuel. He plays for Austin Peay. And they were playing against Moorhead last night, and this is what he did. Unbelievable dunk, right? But notice he only has one arm. Now, you may have already heard this guy's story. It's an amazing story. I think it was from Dominican or Puerto Rico, somewhere in there. And I don't mean to disparage either one, but he was somewhere else. And a cinder block when he was a kid fell on his arm, and they had to remove his arm because he got trapped under there. And he found his way to playing Division I basketball with one arm. And I've seen highlights of him multiple times. Nothing like that, though, where he takes it the length of the court and dunks. But he is really skilled. Remember, Florida had the guy here that had one arm, had lost his arm. I think this was a cancer issue, though. He never really played. This guy's playing a little bit. He's averaging like 4 points a game, so he's playing a little bit for Austin Peay. But that is our Hugh Cain Allstate Mayhem moment, because you know that people that are watching that game that were Austin Peay fans are like, what? When that happens. So that's mayhem to me. All right, let us get to our Gallo Car Wash Sponge of the Week. And I watched this entire match, and I'm going to talk about it a lot here for a minute. But the Gallo Car Wash Sponge of the Week is Ellie McKissick, who is, of course, more than just Jack Caglianone's girlfriend. Well, that's still pretty good on your resume, but she is really good. And I watched that. I was so impressed with her last night. Now, Kennedy Martin was just throwing bullets out there, and she was amazing. But McKissick had 31 digs, tied her career high. Not only that, those 31 digs were hard, every one of them. Now, digs are always hard, but she was just going all over the court. She's got to have floor burns all over. I was so impressed with the way she played and helped Florida get the win 3-1 at Auburn. They've got this bizarre schedule I talked about before where they play their last 4 SEC matches on the road. I don't know why that is, but they were at Auburn. So they've done really well and got the win. Now, don't forget, we'll get to our Swamp Games of the Week right after this, but this is another one. Saturday, Florida's having its senior day, 4:30. And they're playing Central Florida, UCF. Now, there's parking issues there because of the football. People don't leave right away. You know, it takes a while to get out of there. Even for a noon game, there could be parking issues. So just be aware of that. The game is on ESPN Plus, however, if you get Plus, and I do, and I'll probably watch that as well on one of the TVs. But anyway, they have really kind of rebounded to have a really good season and to still have a chance to win the SEC. I think they're a half game behind Kentucky, and I haven't checked who won last night, so there may be, but anyway, they're right there in the race coming down the stretch. So congratulations to Mary Wise, well done, and congratulations to Ellie McKissick for 31 digs and helping Florida win. She is our Gallo Car Wash Sponge of the Week. All right, let's wrap it up with our Swamp Games of the Weekend. And we have a lot of stuff to talk about. And Wednesday, we'll do our Swamp Games of the Weekend next week. And man, that list will be like this long, because there's so much going on. But let's get to them this week. Let's start off with our national games on our Swamp Games of the Weekend, because this is the SEC's had to kind of carry college football the last few weeks. You know that. And the ratings have been through the roof for the SEC, for the ABC and ESPN SEC, way beyond what the Big Ten is getting for the CBS game. And I mean, you can hear it in the voices of Nessler and Danielson. Oh, This is going to be a really good game. Northwestern, Ohio State, it's going to be really good. It'll be great. All right. Anyway, this is the weekend where the SEC is not as good, but there's other big games. Let's just put it that way. And I'll start off with this one: Indiana at Ohio State. Indiana, that's a big game. Obviously, we know that. That's at noon on Fox. So if you're going to the game, you'll miss it. You might want to tape it. You may not want to tape it. I get a feeling Ohio State, even without their center, who just got lost for the year with an Achilles, I think they're going to smoke Indiana. I think Indiana's going to find out that they don't belong at this level. That's my feeling. And you have BYU at Arizona State. That's a huge game in the Big 12. 3:30 on ESPN. That is look. I know that you may go BYU, Arizona State. Why would I watch that? It's a huge game with the playoff implications, with Big 12 implications. That's on a TV here. I can promise you that. Also, Colorado and Kansas, another one. Colorado trying to get into the Big 12 championship game. They need to beat Kansas, and it's at Kansas, and Kansas has had a bad season but played really well last week. That game is at 3:30 on Fox. So the 3:30 games, all I'm looking for is 3 games, so I can get 3 TVs going. And then also you have Army at Notre Dame. Now, is that a big game? You got to turn it on, man. You do have to do that. That is at 7 on ABC. So those are the national games. Probably the best state game is UCF at West Virginia, 3:30 on the U. I don't know that a lot of us are going to watch it, but I'll pay attention to it because UCF needs to win, I think, their last 2 games to get bowl eligible, as Florida needs to win a game to get bowl eligible. Please don't match them up again. So that's going on. The basketball game is Friday night against Southern Illinois, 7 o'clock on the SEC network. I did forget to get to my SEC football games too. The best one is probably is going to be Vandy at LSU at 7:45 on the SEC network. But I'm going to pay attention to the A&M Auburn game at 7:30 on ESPN because there is a fear that A&M is looking past Auburn, and Auburn's a dangerous team. And they'll find a way to lose, but they're a dangerous team. And looking towards that Texas A&M game. So that is got my attention. I can tell you that. Vandy LSU, I'm just curious to see what LSU looks like after what happened this weekend. I mentioned the hoops game. Women's basketball is at Florida State. Friday night, 7 o'clock. It's on the ACC network. If you get the ACC network, most of you do. You can watch the women play at Florida State. And I mentioned cross country Saturday. The NCAA cross-country meet is on ESPNU at 10:20 is when the women start their race. So if you want to check out the women who qualified for it and see how they do, there's an option for you there. I would give you the NFL games, but to be honest with you, I looked through them and they weren't that exciting. I got enough. This is where I'm going to focus on the college stuff. But obviously there's a bunch of NFL games, and you'll find those on your own. But it feels like every game is good against bad, good against bad, good against bad, good against bad, bad against bad. But sometimes you get that this time in the NFL. So we'll see what happens. Okay, thanks again to Mick Hubert. Thanks as always to Zach for doing a tremendous job dealing with me. And we hope you appreciated our 400 show. I will tell a quick little story and then I'll let you go. When I started this thing, I went right away to Freddie Wiebe and said, Freddie, I want to keep my podcast going. And he explained what they did and what we came up with days, and I was excited about it. It was different because it was going to be video and it was going to be carried on Facebook and everything. And about a month in, 2 months in, I had a lot of other stuff going on, and I was like, I don't think I want to do this anymore. I'm not enjoying it. It's hard, and it's just one more thing, and blah blah blah. I was being a baby, okay. And I would complain to my oldest daughter when she was visiting. I'd complain to my wife. I complained to my youngest daughter. Oh, I got too much. This is going on. I got to go. I got to drive all the way out of Spurs. Then all of a sudden, things got better, and I got better. I don't know that I got better at it, but we got a great producer in there with Zach. We got the right guy in there who knows what he's doing. Everything has been so smooth, and I have just now I look forward to the podcast. And believe me, we're going to keep going as long as we keep these advertisers going. It is a lot of fun for me to do. We love the guests we are able to get to bring to you. We hit 400. That's not bad. Let's go for 500. And appreciate all of you for listening and watching another Duly Noted podcast, and for helping our sponsors too. All of our great sponsors. All right, we'll be back with another one on Monday with Coach Spurrier, live from Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Until then, I am Pat Dooley. For Zach, I am deep way back, and I am out of here.